She walked through that door pregnant, powerless, and desperate for reconciliation. He was waiting, not with an apology, but with a contract that would control her life for 18 years. What began as a moment of weakness became a battle for her daughter's future, and the price of one signature would haunt them both. This is the story of a woman who refused to disappear, even when the world tried to erase her. Welcome to Mr. Douglas Tales. May wisdom guide your choices, and may courage sustain you when the path grows dark. If this story speaks to your heart, honor it with a like, and subscribe to join our community of powerful narratives. Now let me tell you how a single door changed everything, and how 18 years of silence became her greatest battle. The door opened without apology. She stepped through, one hand steadying herself against the frame. The marble under her shoes felt colder than she remembered. Her coat hung open. She'd given up trying to button it. 2 weeks ago. No one stopped her. The security guard near the elevator didn't move, didn't nod. His eyes tracked her across the lobby, but his hands stayed at his sides. She kept walking. Her breath came shorter than it should have for 12 steps. The weight sat low now, pulling at her spine in a way that made her adjust her pace without meaning to. She reached the elevator, pressed the button, waited. The guard's radio crackled. He didn't answer it. The elevator doors slid open. She stepped inside. The button for the 42nd floor was already lit. Her finger hovered over the panel anyway, then dropped. The doors closed. Her reflection stared back from the brushed steel. Coat open, posture rigid, one hand pressed flat against her lower back. She looked away. The elevator didn't stop at any other floor. When it opened again, the hallway stretched ahead in that same bone-white silence. Recessed lighting. Closed doors on either side. At the far end, the double doors to his office stood half open. She started walking. Halfway down the hall, her heel caught on nothing. She steadied herself against the wall, palm flat against cool plaster. Paused. Breathed. Kept going. The office doors didn't move as she approached. No sound came from inside. She stopped at the threshold. The room looked exactly the same. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The glass desk clear except for a single folder placed dead center. 2 chairs across from it. And behind the desk, he sat perfectly still. No greeting, no acknowledgement. His eyes tracked her from the doorway to the chair, the way the guards had in the lobby. She didn't sit. "I came," she said. He said nothing. Her hand tightened on the strap of her bag. "You said if I came we could sit." Not a question. Not an invitation. She sat. The folder on the desk faced him, not her. She could see text through the paper, backwards and unreadable. "You're late," he said. "Traffic." "You left early enough." Her jaw tightened. He'd known when she left. Of course he had. He slid the folder across the desk. It stopped precisely in front of her, edges aligned with the chair arms. She didn't open it. "This is what you asked for," he said. "I asked to talk. This is better." She looked at the folder. Legal paper showed through the translucent cover. Dense paragraphs, signature lines at the bottom. "You haven't read it," he said. "You haven't apologized." His expression didn't change. "Open it." She did. The first page was a non-disclosure agreement. The second, a medical proxy authorization. The third, her hands went still. Custody framework. Parental rights. Financial obligations. All of it already filled out. Dated. Initialed in his handwriting. "You knew," she said. "I know how to count." Her throat closed. She forced air through it anyway. "This isn't..." "It's exactly what it is." She turned the page. More clauses. More conditions. Her name appeared 6 times on the first page alone, always in the subordinate position. "You can't." "I already did." He leaned forward. Not much, just enough. You came back. You walked through that door. You sat in that chair. Everything after that is just procedure. She stood. He didn't. Sit down. No, you're not leaving. Watch me. She turned, made it 3 steps. The building is locked, he said behind her. Elevator won't move without clearance. Stairs are alarmed. You're not going anywhere until we finish this. She stopped, didn't turn around. Sit down, he said again. Her legs trembled, not from fear, from standing too long with too much weight, pulling the wrong direction. She'd been on her feet since 6 that morning. The drive here, the walk from the car, the elevator, the hallway. She sat. He slid a pen across the desk. Page 8, he said. Initial where it's marked. She didn't pick up the pen. This isn't negotiable, he said. Everything's negotiable. Not this, not anymore. He tapped the folder. You have a choice. Sign it now, on terms you can live with, or sign it later, after lawyers get involved, after everything that happened becomes public record, after every conversation, every text, every time you showed up at my apartment at 2 in the morning gets read aloud in a deposition. Her breath caught. You remember those nights, he said. It wasn't a question. She remembered. Page 8, he said. She found the page. The clause outlined visitation schedules. Alternate weekends. Supervised until the child turned 3. No overnight stays without written consent. The pen sat on the desk between them. She didn't touch it. How long are you going to make this take? He asked. As long as I need. You don't have long. Her hand moved to her stomach before she could stop it. An old habit. A tell. His eyes followed the movement. How far along are you really? He asked. You said you knew how to count. I know when we stopped. I don't know when you started showing up other places. The air left her lungs. That's not, isn't it? She gripped the edge of the desk. The glass felt smooth and cold and completely unyielding. You're lying, she said. Am I? You know it's yours. I know what you told me. Her vision blurred at the edges. She blinked it clear. Why would I come back here if it wasn't? I've been asking myself the same question. She pushed back from the desk. The chair scraped against marble. Too loud. Too sharp. I'm leaving. No, you're not. She stood anyway. Made it to the door this time. Wrapped her hand around the handle. It didn't turn. She pulled harder. The handle stayed locked. Behind her, his chair creaked as he stood. I told you, he said. You're not going anywhere. She turned. He stood behind the desk now, hands flat on the glass surface. You can't keep me here. I'm not keeping you. The building is. Liability issue. Can't have someone in your condition wandering around unsupervised. What if something happened? Let me out. Sign first. No. Then we wait. He sat back down, calm, patient, like he had all the time in the world. She didn't. Her back ached. Her feet throbbed. The pressure in her bladder had gone from ignorable to urgent somewhere during the last 10 minutes. She needed to sit down. She didn't. This is illegal, she said. Is it? He folded his hands on the desk. You came here voluntarily, walked right past security, got in the elevator, came upstairs. No one forced you. No one threatened you. You're free to leave any time you want. The door is locked. Safety feature. You know how many liability lawsuits happen in buildings like this? Someone trips, falls, sues for millions. We're just being careful. You're insane. I'm thorough. Her knees started shaking. Small tremors at first, then stronger. She sat. He slid the pen closer. Page 8, he said. She picked up the pen. Her hand hovered over the signature line. The ink tip touched paper but didn't press down. Just sign it, said. I need to read it first. You already read it. I need to read it again. He exhaled through his nose. You have 10 minutes. After that, I'm adding a clause about medical expenses. You'll be responsible for 50%. Out of pocket. Her head snapped up. You can't. I can revise terms any time before signing. It's in the header. Page 2. She flipped back. Found it. Buried in the third paragraph. All terms subject to revision prior to execution. That's not enforceable, she said. Want to find out? She looked at the clock on the wall. 3:47 p.m. She started reading. The words blurred together after the first page. Legalese stacked on top of clauses, stacked on top of conditions. Every paragraph took something away. Access. Time. Choice. By page 12, her vision swam. Time's up, he said. I'm not done. You're done. He reached across the desk and pulled the folder away. Wait. A new folder appeared in its place. Thicker, more pages. This is the revised version, he said. Medical expenses split 50-50. I took the liberty of adding a few other updates while you were reading. You can't do this. Page 8, initial. Last chance before another revision. Her hand trembled as she opened the new folder. The clauses had multiplied. More restrictions, more conditions. Visitation reduced to once monthly. Location determined by him. Supervised by his choice of personnel. This is worse, she said. This is reality. I won't sign it. Then we'll sit here until you do. She looked at the door, still closed, still locked. She looked at the clock. 3:53 p.m. She looked at him. He looked back with no emotion at all. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because I can. That's not a reason. It's the only reason that matters. Her throat tightened. She swallowed against it. I came here because you said we could fix this. We are fixing it. This isn't fixing. This is punishing. Is there a difference? She stood again. Slower this. Time. The room tilted slightly. She steadied herself against the chair. I need to use the bathroom, she said. After you sign. I need to go now. Then sign faster. Her bladder throbbed. The pressure had gone from urgent to painful. This is cruel, she said. This is consequence. She sat back down, picked up the pen, found page 8. The signature line waited. She pressed the pen to paper, stopped. What happens after I sign? She asked. You leave. And then? You follow the terms. For how long? 18 years. Minimum. The pen slipped in her grip. She caught it before it fell. What if I don't? Then I enforce them. How? However I need to. She set the pen down. I can't do this, she said. You don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not anymore. He stood, walked around the desk, stopped directly in front of her chair. You made your choice when you came back, he said. Everything after that is just paperwork. She looked up at him. He looked down at her. Sign it, he said. No. His hand moved to his pocket, pulled out a phone. Then I make a call, he said. And lawyers get involved, and everything becomes public. Every fight, every time you showed up drunk, every time you begged me to take you back, every humiliating moment documented and filed and read aloud in court. Her chest constricted. You wouldn't. Watch me. His thumb hovered over the screen. Wait, she said. He waited. Give me the pen, she said. He handed it to her. She opened the folder to page 8, found the signature line, pressed the pen down. Her hand started moving, then stopped. I need to know something first, she said. You don't need anything except to finish signing. Did you ever love me? His expression didn't change. Irrelevant, he said. It's relevant to me. Your feelings aren't part of this contract. Just answer the question. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, does it matter? Yes. Why? Because I need to know if any of it was real. He crouched down. Eye level now. Close enough that she could see the fine lines around his eyes, the exact shade of gray in his irises, the complete absence of warmth. It was real, he said. Every second of it. Every fight. Every reconciliation. Every time I told you to leave and you stayed anyway. Every time you promised to change and didn't. All of it was real. Then why? Because real isn't enough. Real doesn't pay rent. Real doesn't build empires. Real doesn't protect you when things fall apart. He stood. Page 8, he said. Now. She signed. Her handwriting looked shaky, unfamiliar, like someone else had held the pen. Page 12, he said. She turned pages, signed again. Page 19, again. Page 23, again. By the time she reached the end, her hand cramped around the pen. Dated signature on the final page, he said. She wrote the date. January 15th, 2024. He took the folder, flipped through it quickly, checking each signature. Good, he said. He pressed a button on his desk. A soft click echoed from the direction of the door. You can go now, he said. She stood. Her legs barely held her. The bathroom, down the hall. Third door on the left. She walked to the door, pulled it open. It moved easily now. She stopped in the doorway, looked back. He was already seated again, the folder open in front of him, pen in hand, making notes in the margins. What happens now? She asked. He didn't look up. You'll receive a copy by courier tomorrow. Read it carefully. Follow it exactly. Step outside the terms even once, and we revisit everything. That's it? That's it. She waited for something else. An acknowledgement. A goodbye. Anything. Nothing came. She left. The hallway felt longer on the way back. The bathroom door stood exactly where he'd said it would be. She went inside, locked the door, sat down. The relief was immediate and overwhelming. After, she washed her hands, looked at herself in the mirror. Her face looked older than it had that morning. Skin pale, eyes hollowed, coat still unbuttoned because there wasn't any point now. She dried her hands, left the bathroom. Walked back to the elevator. The guard in the lobby watched her cross to the exit, still didn't speak. The door to the street opened as she approached it. Outside, the air hit cold and sharp, January wind cutting through her coat. She pulled it closed with both hands, still didn't button it. The car was parked 2 blocks away. She'd left it there on purpose, wanted the walk, wanted time to prepare. She hadn't prepared for this. The walk took longer than it should have. She had to stop twice, once to catch her breath, once because her vision blurred and she needed to wait for it to clear. When she finally reached the car, her hands shook too hard to get the key in the lock. She tried 3 times. On the 4th, it slid home. She got in, closed the door, sat in silence. The folder would arrive tomorrow. She'd read it, every word, every clause, every restriction on her life for the next 18 years. But right now, sitting in a cold car on a January afternoon with a signature still drying on pages she'd never see again, she let herself feel it. Not the anger, not the shame, the relief. She'd signed. It was done. For better or worse, she'd made a choice and followed it through. Now she just had to live with it. She started the car, pulled out into traffic, drove home. The courier arrived at 9 a.m. She'd been awake since 5, couldn't sleep, kept replaying the office, the folder, his face when she'd asked if he loved her. Irrelevant. The word had stayed with her all night. She signed for the package without looking at the delivery man, carried it inside, set it on the kitchen table, stared at it. The envelope was thick, legal-sized, her name printed on the front in a font she didn't recognize. She made coffee first, toast, sat down at the table with both, opened the envelope. The contract was longer than she remembered. 47 pages. Every clause she'd initialed yesterday, plus addendums, schedules, contingencies. She started reading. Page 1 outlined basic terms: custody, visitation, financial obligations. Page 2 specified locations. All visits at his discretion. all locations subject to his approval. Page 3, detailed medical decisions. All major choices required his consent. All providers from a pre-approved list. She kept reading. By page 10, her coffee had gone cold. By page 20, her toast sat untouched. By page 30, she'd found the clause about communication. All contact between parties must be conducted through designated representatives. Direct communication prohibited, and except in documented emergencies. She read it twice, then kept going. Page 37 outlined enforcement. Any violation resulted in immediate revision of terms. Multiple violations resulted in full custody transfer. Her hands started shaking. She set the contract down, stood, walked to the window. Outside, the city moved through its morning. People walking to work, cars inching through traffic. Normal life continuing like nothing had changed. Everything had changed. She pressed her forehead against the glass. The cold helped, grounded her. Her phone buzzed. She didn't check it. It buzzed again, then again. On the fourth buzz, she looked. 3 texts, all from the same number, not his. One she didn't recognize. She opened them. This is Catherine Moore. I've been assigned as your representative per the agreement you signed yesterday. I'll need to schedule an initial consultation within 48 hours. Please respond with your availability. She stared at the messages. Representative. Not lawyer. Not mediator. Representative. Like she was a foreign government instead of a person. She started typing a response, deleted it, started again. Finally settled on tomorrow afternoon. The reply came immediately. 2 hours p.m. My office. Address below. An address appeared. Downtown. 20 minutes from her apartment. She set the phone down, went back to the contract. Page 40 detailed the representative's role. All communication routed through them. All decisions reviewed by them. All disputes mediated by them. She was no longer allowed to speak directly to the father of her child. She read the page again, looking for exceptions. Found none. Her phone buzzed with a calendar invitation. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Catherine Moore. She accepted it. The rest of the day passed in a blur. She tried to work, opened her laptop, stared at the screen, closed it again, tried to eat, made lunch, threw most of it away, tried to sleep, lay down, stared at the ceiling. By evening, she'd read the entire contract 3 times, memorized the important sections, highlighted the parts that scared her most. There were a lot of those. At midnight, she finally slept. At 1:47 a.m., she woke up needing the bathroom. At 2:15 a.m., she gave up on sleep entirely. She sat at the kitchen table with the contract and a notebook and started making notes. Questions to ask Catherine Moore. Clauses that seemed unenforceable. Terms she didn't understand. By dawn, she had 4 pages of notes and no answers. The office sat on the 40th floor of a building that looked exactly like his. Same marble, same security. Same cold aesthetic that said, money first, people second. She checked in at the front desk. The receptionist smiled without warmth. Ms. Moore is expecting you. Elevator to 40. Turn right. She took the elevator up. The hallway was shorter than his, only 4 doors. Catherine Moore's name appeared on the 3rd one, etched in brass. She knocked. Come in. The office inside was smaller than his, but just as cold. White walls, glass desk, 2 chairs. Catherine Moore sat behind the desk. 50s, severe black suit, hair pulled back tight enough to hurt. Sit, she said. Not a greeting, just an instruction. She sat. Catherine opened a folder, not the contract, something else. I've reviewed your file, Catherine said. What file? The one provided by my client. He's not your client, I am. Catherine looked up. Her expression didn't change. You're both clients. I represent the agreement, not individuals. That's not what representative means. It's what it means in this context. She gripped the arms of the chair. I have questions, she said. I'm sure you do. Catherine pulled out a pen, clicked it once. Before we begin, I need to clarify something. Everything you say in this room is confidential, but confidentiality runs both directions. If you say something that impacts the agreement, I'm obligated to document it. Do you understand? No. Then let me simplify. Don't tell me anything you don't want on record. The air in the room felt too thin. What kind of things? She asked. Anything that could be construed as a violation. Anything that contradicts the terms you signed. Anything that suggests you're unable or unwilling to comply. I haven't violated anything. Yet. The word hung in the air. What questions did you have? Catherine asked. She pulled out her notebook, opened it to the first page. Page 3. Medical decisions. It says all major choices require his consent. What qualifies as major? Anything that isn't routine? Like what? Surgery, genetic testing, experimental treatments, anything with significant cost or risk. What about prenatal vitamins? Routine. Prenatal yoga? Routine. Choosing a hospital? Catherine paused. That would require discussion. Discussion with who? With him. Through me. She flipped to the next page. Page 10. Locations. All visits at his discretion. Does that mean he chooses where I see my own child? Yes. What if I don't agree with the location? You can object, through proper channels. What channels? Me. And then what? I review your objection, document it, present it to him. He decides. Her jaw tightened. That's not fair. Fairness wasn't part of the agreement. She forced herself to breathe, flipped to another page. Page 37. Enforcement. It says violations result in term revisions. What counts as a violation? Anything that contradicts the contract. Can you be more specific? Catherine pulled out a printed list, slid it across the desk. It was 3 pages long. She scanned it, each item more restrictive than the last. Attempting direct contact outside approved channels, arriving late to scheduled visits, appearing intoxicated or impaired at any visit, discussing the agreement with unauthorized parties, making public statements about the other party, relocating without 90 days written notice. The list continued. She set it down. This is insane, she said. This is standard. For what? High net worth custody agreements. I'm not high net worth. He is. Catherine folded her hands on the desk. Let me be clear about something. This agreement protects both parties. It establishes boundaries, creates structure, prevents the kind of chaos that destroys families. It destroys families. No. People destroy families. This just documents it. She wanted to argue, couldn't find the words. Catherine checked her watch. We have 20 minutes left. Any other questions? She had dozens, hundreds. She asked the one that mattered most. Can I change this? No. Not any of it? You signed it, dated it, acknowledged you understood the terms. Unless you can prove coercion or incompetence, it stands as written. He locked me in his office. Catherine's expression didn't flicker. Did you report it to security? No. Did you contact police? No. Did you attempt to leave at any point before signing? She tried the door. It had been locked. Until she signed. Then it opened. I tried, she said, but you didn't succeed. Because he wouldn't let me. Can you prove that? She couldn't. Catherine closed the folder. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go home. You're going to read the contract again. You're going to follow it exactly. And when issues arise, because they will, you're going to contact me, not him. Me, do you understand? She understood. She hated it, but she understood. Yes, she said. Good, Catherine stood. We'll schedule monthly check-ins, more frequently if needed. Stay compliant, stay quiet, stay focused on the child. That's all that matters to you? Compliance? That's all that keeps this from getting worse. She stood, picked up her notebook, started toward the door. One more thing, Catherine said. She stopped, turned. He's watching, Catherine said. He always is. Don't give him a reason to tighten the terms. They can't get tighter. They can always get tighter. She left. The elevator ride down felt longer than the ride up. In the lobby, she passed a woman heading toward the elevators. Late 20s, expensive coat, tired eyes. Their gazes met for a fraction of a second. The woman looked away first. She kept walking. Outside, the January air bit through her coat. She pulled it closed, still didn't button it. The walk to her car took 3 blocks. She made it 2 before she had to stop. Not from exhaustion, from rage. She pressed her back against a building, closed her eyes, counted to 10, then 20, then 30. By 40, she could breathe again. She finished the walk, got in the car, drove home. Inside her apartment, she made tea, sat at the table, opened the contract to page 1, started reading again. This time she took notes on everything, every loophole, every ambiguity, every word that could possibly be interpreted 2 ways. By midnight, she had 17 pages of notes. By dawn, she had a plan. The plan started small. She followed every rule, attended every appointment, responded to Catherine's emails within the required time frame, documented everything. But she also started researching. Not lawyers, not yet. Custody agreements, high net worth cases, terms that had been challenged, terms that had held. She read for hours every night, took notes, cross-referenced clauses in her contract with cases she found. Most of them had held, a few hadn't. She focused on those few. 3 weeks after signing, she found something. A case from 2019. Similar agreement, similar terms. One clause had been thrown out, the communication restriction. The judge had ruled it, violated parental rights. Forced mediation was acceptable. Forced silence was not. She read the case 3 times, printed it, highlighted the important parts. Then she scheduled another meeting with Catherine. Catherine's office looked exactly the same. Same cold white walls, same glass desk, same expression when she walked in. "You're early," Catherine said. "I wanted to discuss something. That's why we have scheduled check-ins." "This couldn't wait." Catherine gestured to the chair. She sat, pulled out the printed case. Page 30. Communication restrictions. I think they're unenforceable. Catherine didn't reach for the paper. Why? This case. Morrison versus Chen, 2019, Northern District. Judge threw out nearly identical language. Morrison had joint custody. You don't. Not yet. Catherine's eyes narrowed slightly. What does that mean? It means nothing is final until the child is born. Until then, this is all theoretical. Theoretical contracts are still binding. Are they? Catherine was quiet for a moment. Then she picked up the printed case, read it, set it down. This doesn't apply, she said. Why not? Different jurisdiction, different circumstances, different judge. Same clause? Similar clause. Not the same. She leaned forward. I want to communicate directly, about medical decisions, about the pregnancy, about things that matter. You communicate through me. That's not sufficient. It's what you agreed to. Under duress. Catherine's expression hardened. Are you claiming duress? I'm saying I was locked in an office and pressured to sign. Prove it. She couldn't. Catherine knew she couldn't. Here's what's going to happen, Catherine said. You're going to go home. You're going to stop researching loopholes. You're going to stop looking for ways out. Because every second you spend fighting this agreement is a second you're not spending preparing for what comes next. What comes next? A child. Your child. Who will be raised under these terms whether you like them or not? The words hit like a fist. Unless, Catherine continued, you want to argue this wasn't consensual, in which case we go to court. Everything becomes public. Every fight, every mistake, every reason he didn't trust you to begin with. She stood. I want to talk to him. No, I have a right. You have the rights outlined in the contract, nothing more. This isn't legal. Then hire a lawyer, challenge it, see what happens. Catherine stood as well. But before you do, understand something. He has resources you don't, patience you don't, and a willingness to make this as painful as possible if you force his hand. Is that really what you want? She didn't answer. Catherine walked around the desk, stopped close enough that she had to look up to meet her eyes. Go home, Catherine said quietly. Rest. Prepare. Focus on the pregnancy. Let me handle everything else. You work for him. I work for the agreement. It's the same thing. No, it's not. Catherine returned to her desk, sat, picked up her pen. We're done for today, she said. She didn't move. I said we're done. She picked up the printed case, folded it, put it in her bag. I'm not giving up, she said. I know. Catherine didn't look up from whatever she was writing. That's what makes this harder. She left. That night she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation. He has resources you don't. She knew that, had always known that. Patience you don't. That too. A willingness to make this as painful as possible. That most of all. But she also had something he didn't. Time. The pregnancy gave her 8 more months. 8 months before the contract became real, before custody became enforceable, before any of this mattered in practical terms. 8 months to find a way out. She sat up, turned on the light, pulled out her notebook, started making a new list. Not loopholes, leverage. The leverage came from an unexpected place. She was 26 weeks along when she found it. A routine checkup, standard ultrasound. The technician had been quiet. Too quiet. Is something wrong? She'd asked. The doctor will discuss the results. That had been 3 days ago. Now she sat in Dr. Patel's office, waiting. The door opened. Dr. Patel came in, sat down, folded her hands on the desk. The ultrasound showed a small anomaly, she said. The room tilted. What kind of anomaly? A minor cardiac irregularity. Nothing immediately concerning, but it requires monitoring. What does that mean? Additional scans, more frequent appointments, possibly specialist consultations. Is the baby okay? Right now, yes. We're being cautious. Dr. Patel pulled out a form. I'll need to coordinate with your medical proxy. Do you have their contact information? She went cold. My what? Your medical proxy. It's listed in your chart. All major decisions require their approval. Who listed that? Dr. Patel checked the file. Catherine Moore. She submitted the authorization 3 weeks ago. Her hands started shaking. I didn't authorize that. According to this, you did. Page 3 of the agreement you signed. She remembered page 3. Medical decisions, required consent. She hadn't realized it meant this. Can I see the form? She asked. Dr. Patel handed it over. It was 1 page. Dense legal text, her signature at the bottom. Not forged. Real. From the packet she'd signed in his office, she'd initialed every page without reading them all. This can't be legal, she said. It's notarized and witnessed. Unless you want to challenge it, I want to challenge it. Then you'll need to do that through legal channels. Until then, I'm required to follow the authorization on file. Her vision blurred. What if I refuse? Then I can't proceed with care. The hospital's liability policy is clear. For high-risk situations with disputed medical authority, we defer to documented legal agreements. This isn't high risk. Any cardiac anomaly makes it high risk. She set the form down. What happens if I don't get the additional monitoring? The irregularity could worsen. Or it could resolve on its own. Without monitoring, we won't know which. And if it worsens? Dr. Patel's expression softened. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Contact your proxy, get approval. We'll schedule the next scan and go from there. She left the office in a daze. In the parking lot, she sat in her car and called Catherine. "I need approval for additional monitoring," she said. "What kind of monitoring?" She explained the ultrasound, the anomaly, the recommendation. Catherine was quiet for a long moment. "I'll need to review this with him," she said. "It's medical. It's urgent." All medical decisions require his input. He's not a doctor. He's the other parent. He has equal say. Equal would mean I also have say. You do. You're bringing it to my attention. Her jaw clenched. How long will this take? I'll try to have an answer by end of day. Try? He's traveling. It may take longer. The doctor said it's high risk. Then it's even more important we follow proper procedure. The call ended. She sat in the car, hands on the steering wheel, and waited. End of day came and went. No call. She texted Catherine. No response. Called again. Voicemail. By midnight, she was sitting at her kitchen table with the contract open to page 3. All major medical decisions require written consent from both parties. Written consent. Not verbal, written, which meant even if he agreed, it had to go through paperwork, through review, through whatever process he'd designed to maintain control. Her baby had a cardiac irregularity, and she couldn't get approval for monitoring because of a contract she'd signed under duress. She called Catherine again. This time, Catherine answered. "I told you I'd call when I had an answer. It's been 12 hours. These things take time. My baby doesn't have time." The doctor said it wasn't immediately concerning. She also said it requires monitoring, and it will be monitored once we have proper approval. This is insane. This is the agreement you signed. She hung up, immediately called back. What if I go to a different doctor? Any doctor you see will require the same authorization. It's in your medical records now. Then I'll pay cash. See someone who doesn't check records. That would be a violation of the agreement. Unauthorized medical care. Grounds for immediate revision of terms. You can't stop me from seeing a doctor. I can. Document that you violated the contract, which I'm required to do. Her hands shook. "Please," she said. "This is my child. Our child. He can't possibly want to delay this. Then he'll approve it, when he's ready." "When will that be?" "I don't know." "Guess." 48 hours, maybe less." "That's too long." "That's the process." The call ended. She sat in silence for a long time. Then she did something she hadn't done since signing the contract. She drove to his building. Security stopped her in the lobby. Same guard as before. He recognized her. "He's not here," the guard said. "Where is he?" "I can't share that information. I need to see him. You need to go through proper channels." "This is an emergency." "Then call your representative." She pulled out her phone, showed him Dr. Patel's message about the cardiac anomaly. The guard looked at it, looked at her. "I'm sorry," he said. "I can't let you up without clearance. Please, ma'am, my baby is sick. I need his—" "My baby? Approval for treatment. I can't wait 48 hours. The guard's expression softened slightly. "I'll make a call," he said. He stepped away, spoke quietly into his radio, came back. "He's in Tokyo. Won't be back for 3 days." The floor dropped out from under her. 3 days. That's what I'm told. Can you reach him? Can someone— "I'm just security, ma'am. You'll have to go through official channels." She stood there, unable to move. The guard waited. Finally, she turned and left. Outside, the cold air hit her face. She walked without direction. 1 block. 2. On the 3rd block, she stopped, pulled out her phone, found the email Catherine had sent 3 weeks ago. The one with Catherine's personal cell number for emergencies. She called it. Catherine answered on the first ring. "This qualifies as an emergency," she said. "He's in Tokyo for 3 days. My baby has a cardiac problem. I'm not waiting. You don't have a choice. I do. I'm going to a different doctor. Tonight. I'm getting the scan. I'll pay out of pocket if I have to. That's a violation. I don't care. You should. It gives him grounds to… To what? Take the baby? The baby he won't even approve medical care for? Catherine was quiet. Let me make a call, she said finally. To who? To him. You said he's in Tokyo. He is, but this is urgent. You said that would take 48 hours. That was before you threatened to violate the agreement. The call ended. She stood on the sidewalk, shaking. Her phone rang 15 minutes later. Catherine. He approved the monitoring, Catherine said. I'm sending the authorization to Dr. Patel now. Relief flooded through her. Thank you. Don't thank me. He didn't do this because he cares. He did it because you forced his hand. That has consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind we'll discuss at our next meeting. The call ended. She stood there for another moment. Then she went home. The scan happened 2 days later. The cardiac irregularity was still there, still minor, still requiring monitoring, but stable. Dr. Patel seemed relieved. We'll check again in 4 weeks, she said. She nodded. Outside the hospital, she checked her phone. One new email from Catherine. Meeting scheduled for tomorrow, 10 a.m. Non-negotiable. She replied, I'll be there. That night, she couldn't sleep again. She knew what tomorrow's meeting would bring. Consequences, revisions, tighter terms. But she'd gotten the scan. Her baby was being monitored. For now, that was enough. Catherine's office felt colder than usual. She sat in the chair across the desk and waited. Catherine opened a folder, not the contract, something new. Revised terms, Catherine said. Her stomach dropped. Already? You violated protocol. This is the result. Catherine slid the folder across the desk. She opened it. The first page looked similar to the original contract. The second page did not. All medical appointments must be approved in writing at least 72 hours in advance. All medical providers must be selected from pre-approved list. All medical expenses not pre-approved are the sole responsibility of the non-custodial parent. She flipped to the next page. Visitation reduced to supervised only until child reaches age 5. All visits limited to 2 hours maximum. Location determined solely by custodial parent. The pages continued, each one worse than the last. This is punitive, she said. This is consequence. I got medical care for my child. You threatened to violate the agreement. I threatened to save my baby's life. You threatened to undermine the entire structure we established. She slammed the folder closed. I'm not signing this. You don't have a choice. I always have a choice. Catherine leaned forward. No, you don't. The original agreement included a clause about revisions. Page 41. You initialed it. Any material violation results in updated terms. You violated. These are the updated terms. I'll fight it. With what resources? I'll find a way. You can't afford the lawyer it would take to fight this. He can afford 50. Her hands clenched in her lap. This isn't over, she said. Yes, Catherine said quietly. It is. She stood, picked up the folder. I need time to think. You have 48 hours. After that, these terms go into effect whether you sign or not. That's not legal. It's in the original contract. Page 41, clause 16. She wanted to scream. Instead, she left. At home, she read page 41, found clause 16. In the event of material violation by either party, revised terms may be implemented unilaterally following documented notice period of not less than 48 hours. She'd initialed it, hadn't understood it, had signed it anyway. Now it was being used against her. She read the revised terms again. Every page, every clause. They were worse than she'd imagined. Not just restrictive, designed to separate her from her child, almost entirely. 2-hour visits, supervised, locations of his choosing, until the child turned 5. 5 years of barely seeing her own baby. Unless she could stop it. She spent the next 48 hours looking for a way. Called 3 lawyers. All said the same thing. The contract was solid. The revision clause was enforceable. Her only option was to challenge the original agreement on grounds of coercion, which she couldn't prove. The 48th hour arrived. No call from Catherine. No email. At midnight, her phone buzzed. One text from Catherine. Terms now in effect. Updated contract attached. She opened the attachment. 49 pages. Every revision implemented. Her access to her child reduced to almost nothing. She set the phone down. Sat in silence. Then she did the only thing she could think of. She started documenting everything. Every email, every call, every decision made without her input. Every time he used the contract to control her, she couldn't fight him now, but she could prepare. For later. When she had resources, when she had standing. When the baby was born and the theoretical became real, she would find a way. She had to. The baby came early. 37 weeks. Not dangerously early, but early enough that she hadn't finished preparing. The contraction started at 3:00 a.m. She called Dr. Patel, was told to come in. She called Catherine. Required by the contract. Catherine didn't answer. She called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. By the 4th call, she gave up and drove herself to the hospital. The labor took 14 hours. At hour 6, Catherine finally called back. "You should have waited for approval," she said. "I was in labor. The contract requires notification. I called you 4 times. I was asleep. So was I. Then I went into labor. This will be documented." The call ended. At hour 9, the pain became unbearable. She asked for an epidural. The anesthesiologist checked her chart. "I need approval from your medical proxy," he said. "I'm in labor." "I understand, but hospital policy." "Get Catherine on the phone." They did. Catherine answered. "Epidurals aren't on the pre-approved list," she said. "I don't care." "You should. This is another violation." "I'm in labor. I'm getting the epidural. Document whatever you want." She hung up, got the epidural. At hour 14, the baby was born. A girl, 6 pounds, 4 ounces. Perfect. They placed her on her chest. Tiny, warm, screaming. She looked down at her daughter and felt something crack open inside her. Not joy, terror, because this tiny person was real now, and the contract controlling access to her was real too. The nurse took the baby to be cleaned. She lay back against the pillows and waited. 30 minutes later, Catherine arrived, not to congratulate her, to serve papers. "Revised custody terms," Catherine said, "effective immediately." She was too exhausted to argue. Catherine left the papers on the bedside table and walked out. She didn't read them until the next day. When she did, her hands started shaking. The new terms were worse than before. Visitation reduced to once weekly, 1 hour, supervised. Hospital discharge required his approval. Taking the baby home required his approval. Even naming the baby required his approval. She read that clause twice. Final name selection, subject to approval by both parents. In case of disagreement, name will be determined by neutral arbitrator. She hadn't even thought about a name, had assumed she'd have time. Now she didn't. A nurse came in with the birth certificate paperwork. "Have you chosen a name?" she asked. "I need to make a call first." She called Catherine. "I'm not approving any name you choose without his input," Catherine said. "He's not here. He'll be back tomorrow. I need to file the birth certificate before discharge, then wait to discharge." "How long?" "As long as it takes." She hung up. The nurse waited. "I don't have a name yet," she said. The nurse nodded. "You have 72 hours to file. After that, the state assigns one." She nodded. The nurse left. She looked at the baby sleeping in the bassinet beside her bed. Unnamed. just like everything else in this situation. Controlled by someone who wasn't even there. He arrived the next afternoon. She heard him before she saw him. His voice in the hallway, talking to a nurse, not asking permission, stating intent. Then he was in the doorway, still in his travel clothes, suit, tie, like he'd come straight from the airport. He looked at the baby first, then at her. "She's healthy?" he asked. "Yes." He walked to the bassinet, looked down at his daughter. His expression didn't change. "Have you named her?" he asked. "I was waiting for you." "Why?" "The contract says—" "I know what it says." He pulled out his phone, typed something, put it away. "Catherine will send you a list of approved names. Choose from those." I had names picked out. Choose from the list. She wanted to argue. Couldn't find the energy. He turned to leave. "Wait," she said. He stopped. "Do you want to hold her?" He looked at the baby again, then at her. "No." He left. She sat in the hospital bed and cried for the first time since this started. Not from sadness, from exhaustion. The approved name list arrived an hour later. 20 names, all traditional, all safe. None of them were names she'd chosen. She picked one at random. Grace. Not because she liked it, because it was short. Catherine approved it within minutes. The birth certificate was filed. 2 days later, she was discharged. With conditions. She could take the baby home, but she couldn't leave the city without written approval. Couldn't travel more than 20 miles from her registered address. Couldn't change addresses without 60 days' notice. All documented in the newest revision to the contract. 53 pages now. She stopped counting. The first supervised visitation happened when Grace was 3 weeks old. She arrived at the designated location, a sterile office building downtown, 3rd floor, room 307. Catherine was already there. So was he, and Grace, her daughter, in his arms. The supervisor sat in the corner with a clipboard. "You have 1 hour," Catherine said. She walked to him, held out her arms. He didn't hand the baby over immediately. "She just ate," he said. "Okay. She'll need to be changed in about 20 minutes. "Okay." He finally handed Grace to her. The baby felt heavier than she remembered, more solid. She sat down in the designated chair. He sat across from her. Catherine sat beside him. The supervisor wrote something on the clipboard. "You can talk," Catherine said, "but keep it focused on the child." She looked at him. "She's gotten bigger," she said. "Babies do that." "Has she been sleeping?" "Well enough." "What about—" "No personal questions," Catherine interrupted. She looked down at Grace instead. The baby stared back at her with wide, unfocused eyes. She looked like him. Same nose, same chin. Nothing of her in this child, except the fact that she'd carried her for 9 months. "Time," the supervisor said. She looked up. 55 minutes had passed. It had felt like 5. "I can have a few more minutes." 1 hour is the limit, Catherine said. She stood, held Grace a moment longer, then handed her back to him. He took the baby without comment. "Next visit is scheduled for next week," Catherine said. "Same time, same place." She nodded. Walked out, didn't cry until she was in her car. The visits continued, once a week, 1 hour, always supervised. Grace got bigger, started smiling, started reaching for things, never reached for her, because Grace didn't know her. Saw her 1 hour per week in a sterile room with strangers watching. Not enough time to bond, not enough time to matter. By month 4, she'd stopped crying after visits. By month 6, she'd stopped feeling anything. Just went through the motions, showed up, held the baby, left. Catherine seemed pleased with her compliance. He said nothing. The supervisor kept writing on that clipboard. She stopped asking what was being documented. Grace's first birthday came and went. There was a party. She wasn't invited. She found out about it from Catherine. You'll have your regular visit the following week, Catherine said. I'm her mother. And you have designated visitation. It's her birthday, which is why there's a party. You're not on the guest list. She hung up, spent the day of Grace's birthday in her apartment, alone, staring at the wall. That night she pulled out all her documentation, every email, every call, every decision made without her. Years of evidence. She still couldn't afford a lawyer, but maybe she didn't need one. The next day she went to the courthouse, filed a pro se motion to modify the custody agreement, based on changed circumstances. The changed circumstance. Grace was a year old, a living child, not a theoretical. Pregnancy. The agreement had been signed before Grace was born, before anything was real. Now it was real, and she wanted a judge to see it. The motion was accepted. A hearing was scheduled, 6 weeks out. She called Catherine to inform her. "This is a mistake," Catherine said. "It's my right. You're going to lose. Maybe. You'll definitely lose. And when you do, he'll revise the terms again." They can't get worse. They can always get worse. The call ended. She didn't care. For the first time in 18 months, she was doing something. Not complying. Not documenting. Acting. The hearing arrived. She showed up in the only suit she owned, carried a folder with all her evidence, sat at the defendant's table alone. He arrived with 3 lawyers. Catherine sat in the gallery. The judge entered. "This is a motion to modify custody," the judge said, "filed pro se by the petitioner. What are the grounds?" She stood. "The original agreement was signed under duress before my daughter was born. Now that she's a year old, I'm asking the court to consider what's actually best for her." The judge looked at her. "Do you have evidence of duress?" "I was locked in an office and pressured to sign." "Can you prove that?" "No." "Then I can't consider it." Her chest tightened. "The agreement limits me to 1 hour per week with my daughter. She doesn't even know me. That can't be what's best for her." One of his lawyers stood. "Your Honor, the agreement was signed voluntarily. Notarized, witnessed, Ms." He glanced at his notes. "The petitioner had every opportunity to seek counsel before signing. She chose not to. I didn't have resources. That's not grounds for modification. The agreement stands as written unless you can demonstrate material change in circumstances or harm to the child." The judge looked at her. "Can you demonstrate harm?" She thought about Grace. Happy, healthy, well cared for. "She doesn't know me," she said quietly. "That's not legal harm. That's a consequence of the agreement you signed." The judge looked at his lawyers. Response? "We oppose the modification. The agreement has been in effect for over a year. The child is thriving. There's no basis for change." The judge nodded. Motion denied. The gavel came down. It was over in less than 10 minutes. She sat there, unable to move. The judge left. His lawyers packed up. He walked past her without a word. Catherine stopped at her table. "I warned you," she said. Then she left too. She sat alone in the courtroom for a long time. Finally stood. Walked out. The revision came 3 days later. Visitation reduced to once monthly. 30 minutes. Still supervised. She read it sitting at her kitchen table. Didn't cry. Didn't rage. Just read it. Then filed it with all the other revisions. She'd lost. Completely. The contract controlled everything. She couldn't fight it. Couldn't afford to fight it. Could barely afford to keep showing up for the monthly visits. But she did. Every month, 30 minutes, watching her daughter grow up with someone who looked at her like an obligation. While she stood on the outside, looking in, Grace turned 2, then 3, then 4. The visits continued. 30 minutes. Once monthly. Grace still didn't know her. Called him Daddy. Called her by her first name, like a stranger, which is what she was. At Grace's 5th birthday, another party she wasn't invited to, something shifted. She got a call from Catherine. "We need to meet," Catherine said. Why? He wants to discuss something. What? In person. They met at Catherine's office. He was already there when she arrived, first time she'd seen him outside of supervised visits in 5 years. He looked older, grayer at the temples, more tired around the eyes. She probably looked worse. Catherine gestured to a chair. She sat. Grace starts kindergarten in the fall, he said. She knew. Had been counting down the months. We need to discuss custody arrangements going forward, he continued. There are no arrangements. There's a contract, which expires when she turns 18. She blinked. What? He slid a folder across the table. I'm proposing a modification. She didn't touch the folder. Why? Because Grace asked about you. Her heart stopped. What did she ask? Why she only sees you once a month. Why you're not at her school events. Why you don't live with us. What did you tell her? The truth. That we have an agreement. That's not the truth. It's the only truth that matters. She opened the folder. The new terms were different. Not worse. Different. Visitation increased to every other weekend. Unsupervised. Overnight stays permitted. School events permitted. Medical decisions shared. She read it twice. Why are you doing this? Because she's starting school. Because she's asking questions I can't answer. Because... He paused. Because this isn't sustainable. It's been sustainable for 5 years. For you, not for her. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw something she hadn't seen before. Regret. Not for what he'd done. For what it had cost. What's the catch? She asked. No catch. You agree to these terms. We file them. They go into effect. And if I don't, then nothing changes. She looked at the terms again. Every other weekend. Unsupervised. Overnight. It was more than she'd had in 5 years, but it was still less than she deserved. I want more, she said. This is what I'm offering. I want split custody. 50-50. No. Joint legal and physical custody. No. Then why should I agree to this? He leaned forward. Because it's better than what you have now. Because Grace deserves to know you. Because 5 years of fighting hasn't gotten you anywhere, and this is the best offer you're going to get. She hated that he was right. Hated everything about this. But he was right. I need time to think, she said. You have 24 hours. She left. She didn't need 24 hours. She called Catherine back in 2. I'll sign, she said. Good. The papers were drawn up. She signed them 3 days later, in Catherine's office, with him across the desk, just like the first time. Except this time, she read every word, every clause, every condition, and when she signed, her hand didn't shake. The first unsupervised visit happened the following weekend. She picked Grace up at his apartment. Grace came to the door holding a backpack almost as big as she was. Hi, Grace said. Hi, she said back. They stood there awkwardly. Ready to go? She asked. Grace nodded. They went to the park. Grace talked the entire time, about school, about her friends, about a movie she'd seen. She listened. Didn't interrupt. Just listened. At one point, Grace stopped talking and looked at her. Can I ask you something? Grace asked. Of course. Why don't you live with us? Her throat tightened. It's complicated, she said. That's what Daddy says. He's right. But why? She thought about the contract, the locked door, the 5 years of 30-minute visits. Because sometimes adults make mistakes, she said. And those mistakes have consequences. Did you make a mistake? Yes. We both did, she said. Grace thought about this. Do you wish you lived with us? Every single day. I wish things were different, she said carefully. Grace nodded, seemed satisfied with that answer. They kept walking. At the end of the visit, she dropped Grace back at his apartment. Grace hugged her goodbye. It was the first time. She hugged her back, felt that crack inside her chest open a little wider. The visits continued. Every other weekend. Grace got more comfortable. Started calling her Mom. Started bringing her drawings from school. Started asking when she could stay overnight. That happened 3 months later. Grace arrived with her backpack and a stuffed elephant. Spent the night. They made pancakes for breakfast. Grace got syrup everywhere. She didn't care. For the first time in 5 years, she had her daughter in her home. Overnight. Just the two of them. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Grace turned 6. This time she was invited to the party. Showed up with a present. Watched Grace open it with all the other presents. Watched her play with the other kids. Watched him watch her. Their eyes met across the room. He looked away first. After the party, Grace hugged her goodbye. "I'm glad you came," Grace said. "Me too." She drove home and sat in her apartment and let herself feel it. Not happiness, not exactly, but something close. Progress, hard-won, painful, but real. 2 years passed. The visits continued. Grace got older, 8 years old now, starting to ask harder questions. "Why don't I have your last name?" "Why don't you and Daddy talk to each other?" "Why do I have to switch houses every weekend?" She answered as honestly as she could, which was never honest enough, because the truth was complicated, and Grace was 8, but Grace was also smart, started noticing things. "You and Daddy never look at each other," she said one day. "We're focused on you." "No, you're avoiding each other." She didn't have an answer for that. Grace kept watching her. "Did he hurt you?" Grace asked. "Yes." "It's complicated," she said. "You always say that." "Because it always is." Grace frowned. "When I'm older, will you tell me the truth?" "Yes." "Promise?" "I promise." Grace turned 10. Double digits. Halfway to 18, halfway to the end of the contract. She could feel it approaching. 8 more years. Then Grace would be an adult. Then none of this would matter. Except it would always matter, because Grace would always remember. The split houses, the careful conversations, the way her parents never spoke, never looked at each other, never existed in the same space unless absolutely necessary. She thought about that a lot, about what Grace would remember, about what she'd tell her when she was old enough, about whether any of it would make sense. Grace was 12 when she found the contract. She was at his apartment for her weekend, went looking for a book, found a file cabinet instead, found the contract inside, read it, called her immediately. "Is this real?" Grace asked. Her stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" "The contract, the custody agreement." "Is it real?" She closed her eyes. "Yes." "It says you only get me every other weekend. That's the agreement." "It says you wanted more?" "I did." "Why didn't you get it?" "Because I signed something I shouldn't have." Grace was quiet for a long moment. "It says you were pregnant when you signed it, that you came back to him, that he didn't apologize." "Grace, is that why you don't talk to each other? Because of this? It's more complicated than—" "Stop saying it's complicated." She'd never heard Grace yell before, never heard her angry. "I'm sorry," she said. "Why did you sign it?" "Because I didn't think I had a choice." "You always have a choice." She almost laughed. She'd said the same thing once, in his office, 5 years ago. He'd said, "Not anymore," and he'd been right. "Sometimes choices aren't really choices," she said quietly. Grace was crying now. She could hear it in her voice. "I hate this," Grace said. "I know. I hate that you and Daddy can't even look at each other. I hate that I have to switch houses. I hate that I only see you every other weekend." "I'm sorry. It's not your fault." "It is." "No, it's his." She wanted to argue, Couldn't, because Grace was right. Don't blame him, she said anyway. Why not? Because he's your father, because you love him, because blame doesn't fix anything. Neither does this contract. No, it doesn't. Grace hung up. Didn't call back that night, or the next day, or the day after that. She waited. 3 days later, Grace called. I talked to Daddy, she said. About what? About the contract, about changing it. Her heart started pounding. What did he say? He said it's not that simple. It isn't. I don't care. I want to live with you half the time. Real 50-50. Not just weekends. Grace, I'm 12. I'm old enough to choose. The contract says, I don't care what the contract says. I'm not a baby anymore. I get to have a say. She started crying. Didn't mean to. Couldn't stop. I'll talk to him, she said. He won't listen to you. Then I'll try anyway. She called Catherine the next day. I need to speak with him. That's not permitted under the agreement. Grace found the contract. She's asking questions. This is about our daughter. He'll take my call. Catherine was quiet for a moment. I'll arrange it. The call came 2 hours later. His voice. First time she'd heard it directed at her in 12 years. Grace told me, he said. She wants 50-50 custody. And I know what she wants. Are you going to give it to her? I don't know. She's 12. She's old enough to have a say. She's 12. She's not old enough to understand. Understand what? He was quiet. Why I did this, he said finally. I don't understand either. I know. Then explain it to me. It won't change anything. Maybe not. But our daughter deserves better than this. He exhaled. I'll think about it. The call ended. She waited. Days passed, then weeks, then a month. No response. Grace stopped asking. Started getting quieter during visits. Started pulling away. She could feel it happening. 12 years of supervised visits and every other weekend custody finally taking its toll. Grace was tired of being split between two houses. Two parents who couldn't stand to be in the same room. Two versions of her life that never connected. She was losing her daughter, not to him, to exhaustion. Grace turned 13, became a teenager, started asking different questions. Do you hate him? Why did you go back? What did he do to you? She answered carefully, trying to be honest without poisoning Grace against her father. It was an impossible balance. I don't hate him, she said, but you don't like him. It's complicated. Grace rolled her eyes. You always say that. Because it's always true. Just tell me what happened. When you're older. I'm 13. I'm old enough. Not for this. Grace walked away. Spent the rest of the visit in her room. She didn't push. Just waited. The change came when Grace was 14. She got a call from Catherine. He wants to meet. About what? Grace, and the custody arrangement. Is he finally agreeing to 50-50? I don't know. He didn't say. They met at Catherine's office. He was already there, looked older again. More gray, more tired. She sat across from him. Catherine sat between them. Grace has been asking to live with you more, he said. I know. She says she wants 50-50. She's wanted that for 2 years. I know. He pulled out a folder. She recognized it immediately. The contract. All 53 pages. I've been thinking about this for a long time, he said. About what I did. About why I did it. About what it's cost. He slid the folder across the table. She didn't touch it. Grace is 14, he continued. In 4 years, she'll be 18. The contract expires. She'll be free to choose. She should be free to choose now. I agree. She looked up sharply. What? I agree. She should get to choose. Not because of the contract. Because she's earned it. He pulled out another folder. This is a new agreement. Joint legal and physical custody. 50-50. No restrictions. No supervisors. No clauses about communication or medical decisions or any of the rest of it. She opened the folder. Read the terms. Everything she'd wanted 14 years ago. Why now? She asked. Because Grace asked. Because she deserves better than what we gave her. Because, he paused. Because I was wrong. The words hung in the air. That's not an apology, she said. No, it's not. Why not? Because an apology doesn't fix this. Doesn't undo 14 years. Doesn't give you back what you lost. Then what does this do? It gives you the next 4 years. It gives Grace what she's been asking for. It ends this the way it should have ended a long time ago. She looked at the new agreement, everything she'd fought for, everything she'd lost, finally being offered, 14 years too late. If I sign this, what happens to the old contract? She asked. It's void, replaced by this. And all the revisions? All the restrictions? Gone. She picked up the pen, set it back down. I need to know something first, she said. What? Do you regret it? He looked at her for a long moment. Every day, he said. Then why did you wait so long? Because I'm stubborn. Because I thought control was the same as protection. Because I didn't know how to let go. He stood. Take your time. Read it. Have a lawyer review it if you want. When you're ready, sign it. Send it back to Catherine. We'll file it. He left. She sat there with the agreement. Catherine sat across from her. You should have a lawyer look at this, Catherine said. Will you tell me if there's anything wrong with it? Officially? No. Unofficially? Catherine pulled out a pen. It's clean. No hidden clauses. No restrictions. It's exactly what he said it is. Why are you helping me? Because I've been doing this for 14 years, and I'm tired too. She signed it that night, sent it to Catherine. It was filed 3 days later, became official 1 week after that. She called Grace. The custody agreement changed, she said. How? 50-50. Starting next week. Grace was quiet. Then, really? Really? Grace started crying. Thank you. I didn't do this. Your dad did. But you signed it. Of course I signed it. They talked for 2 hours, made plans, figured out the schedule, which weeks Grace would be where, how school would work, how activities would work, all the logistics of actually sharing a life. For the first time in 14 years. The first week of 50-50 custody was chaos. Grace forgot things at his house, forgot things at her house, got confused about which parent was picking her up when. But she was happy. For the first time in years, she was happy. And that was enough. Grace turned 15, then 16. The 50-50 arrangement continued, smoothed out over time, became routine, normal. She and him still didn't talk much, still didn't look at each other unless necessary, still carried 14 years of history between them. But they managed. For Grace. Grace turned 17. 1 year left before the contract expired entirely. 1 year left before she was an adult, free to make her own choices. Grace asked her one day, when I turn 18, will you tell me everything? Yes. Promise? I promise. Grace's 18th birthday came on a cold January day. She threw a party, invited both parents. They both came, stood on opposite sides of the room, didn't speak. But they were both there. After the party, Grace asked to talk. Just the 3 of them. They sat in Grace's apartment. She'd moved out 2 months earlier and waited. I want to know what happened, Grace said. She looked at him. He looked back. Go ahead, he said. She told Grace everything. The pregnancy, the locked office, the contract, the 14 years of restrictions, every revision, every fight, every moment she'd been kept from her daughter. Grace listened without interrupting. When she finished, Grace turned to him. "Is that true?" "Yes." "Why did you do it?" "Because I was angry. Because I was scared. Because I wanted control." "That's not a reason." "It's the only reason I have." Grace stood. "I need some time," she said. They left. Grace didn't call for 3 days. When she finally did, "I don't forgive you," Grace said. She didn't know which parent Grace was talking to. "I don't forgive either of you," Grace clarified. "But I understand. And I'm grateful. You both kept showing up. Even when it was hard, even when you hated each other, you both kept showing up for me." "We love you," she said. "I know." The call ended. Life continued. Grace went to college, came home for holidays, slowly built relationships with both parents that weren't defined by custody schedules. She and him still didn't talk, still didn't reconcile, but they coexisted. For Grace. Always for Grace. Years passed. Grace graduated college, got a job, got engaged, invited both parents to the wedding. They both came, still on opposite sides of the room, but both there. During the reception, Grace made a speech, thanked both parents for showing up, for trying, for loving her even when they couldn't love each other. After the speech, Grace found her. "I want to tell you something," Grace said. "What?" "I read the contract, the original one, when I was 12. "I know. No, I read all of it, including the final page." She didn't understand. "What was on the final page?" "A clause I don't think you saw, about what happens when I turn 18. Her chest tightened. "What does it say?" "That if I want, I can void the contract entirely. Retroactively. Erase it from legal record." "I didn't know that." "I don't think he wanted you to know." "Why not?" "Because it would have given you hope. And he didn't want you to have hope. He wanted you to give up." She felt something shift inside her chest. "But I didn't." "No, you didn't." Grace hugged her. "Thank you for not giving up," Grace whispered. She hugged her daughter back. "I couldn't. You were worth fighting for." 1 month after the wedding, she got a call from Catherine. "I'm retiring," Catherine said. "Congratulations. Before I go, I wanted to tell you something." "What?" "He called me last week, asked me to send you a message." "What message?" "He says he's sorry, for all of it, and that you were right, 14 years ago, when you asked if there was always a choice." "What about it?" "He said you were right. There's always a choice. He just made the wrong one." The call ended. She sat in silence, staring at nothing, feeling everything. She never spoke to him again. Never needed to. The contract expired the day Grace turned 18. Was voided by Grace 1 month later. Erased from legal record. Like it never existed. Except it had existed. For 18 years. And those years mattered. Every supervised visit, every revision, every fight, every moment she'd been kept from her daughter. They couldn't be erased, only survived. And she had survived, had fought, had shown up, even when it cost her everything, especially then. 10 years later, Grace had a daughter of her own, named her after her mother, asked her to be in the delivery room. She held her granddaughter for the first time and felt that crack in her chest finally heal. Not close, not disappear. Heal. Different than before. Scarred, but whole. Grace looked at her holding the baby. "I'm not doing this your way," Grace said. "What do you mean?" "The custody thing. If anything happens between me and him, we're doing it different." "Good." "I'm serious. No contracts, no restrictions, no lawyers deciding who gets to be a parent. You won't need any of that." "How do you know?" "Because you learned from our mistakes." Grace smiled. "I learned from you," she said. "You never gave up. Even when everyone told you to. Even when it would have been easier. You just kept showing up." She looked down at her granddaughter, at this tiny person who would never know what it felt like to be kept from a parent, who would never spend 18 years split between two houses, who would never read a contract that defined her entire childhood, because Grace was doing it different, better, the way it should have been done from the start. "I'm proud of you," she said. Grace took the baby back. "I'm proud of you too." She left the hospital that night and drove through the city, past his building, past Catherine's old office, past all the places that had defined 18 years of her life. None of them mattered anymore. The contract was gone. Grace was free. Her granddaughter would be free. And she had survived. That was enough. She drove home, parked, sat in the car for a moment, then got out and went inside, closed the door behind her, without looking back. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Mr. Douglas Tales, where powerful stories unfold one moment at a time.